A powerful choice for early game expansion, the Advent Progenitor Mothership is a support ship with utility abilities useful for assisting friendly fleets. Unlike dedicated battleships, the Progenitor does not rely on overwhelming firepower. Instead, it strengthens allied fleets through shield restoration, cultural dominance, and powerful area of effect control. It can host 1 to 2 strikecraft squadrons, giving it moderate flexibility against light targets. However, like most capital ships, it lacks strong point defense and must rely on fleet support to deal with heavy missile or strikecraft pressure. As always, I will be excluding additional items and research upgrades that improve survivability or weapon statistics. This analysis focuses purely on the vanilla ship without any modifiers. So, with that in mind, let's look at the Progenitor Mothership. Once created, the Progenitor starts off with a durability of 500, 4,800 shield points, 810 armor points with a strength of 55, and 4,500 hull points. Keeping it alive and fighting, it will continue to gain health stats until it caps out. It does so at level 10, with 9,120 shield points, 1,540 armor with a strength of 100, and 8,105 hull points. All 3 health metrics at level 10 hover above or below twice as high when compared to the ship at level 1, with the biggest numerical increase being seen with the Progenitor's shields. Advent ships favor higher shields than other factions, so this isn't quite that surprising. Although, it is important to remember that shields do not mitigate damage in any way, unlike armor, which can reduce incoming damage by a factor of its strength and the ship's durability rating. When compared to the other Advent capital ships, the Progenitor comes equipped with the highest shields, having just over 10% more shields than the frontline Radiance battleship, and almost 20% more than the last place Rapture battlecruiser. However, when looking at armor, the Progenitor takes quite a fall, landing into second last place, only beating out the Halcyon carrier and having half the armor of the Radiance at higher levels. This continues into armor strength, with the Progenitor sharing last place with the Halcyon carrier, consistently falling about 25% behind the Radiance throughout the levels. The Progenitor does get a small break when considering hull points. It sits in second place, just narrowly beating out the Revelation battlecruiser and sitting almost 1,000 hull points behind the first place Halcyon. Taking in all these factors, the Progenitor will fall into the middle of the pack for general survivability among the Advent capital ships. While its armor is lower than its contemporaries, its high shields and hull points allow it to take a beating, and while it should not be in the front lines, its shield and hull pool can give it some breathing room if caught in an ambush or if it needs to reposition. When comparing across the factions, the Advent shield bias is on full display. The Progenitor takes first place by a large margin, capping out over 30% higher than the second place TEC Akkan at level 10. Numerically, it leads by almost 3,000 shield points at higher levels, an advantage it sorely needs. The Advent's distaste for armor is seen with the Progenitor coming into last place, far behind the TEC Akkan and the Vasari Evacuator having almost 500 and 1,000 less armor points respectively. The Progenitor sits in second place for armor strength. However, the Akkan is close behind, only behind 5 points at any given level, and the Evacuator gains armor strength faster than both, starting out comparable at lower levels by diverging as they level up. The Progenitor does not get any favors with its hull points either, having the lowest hull pool out of the 3. On top of this, its hull pool grows slower than the others, leaving it lagging behind as the game progresses. While the Progenitor's survival stats, excluding its shields, can be sort of a letdown, the ship does have a wild card up its sleeve, one that you would not expect from a support ship. This advantage is realized when comparing the Progenitor's armament to the other Advent capital ships. It has the highest average piercing, beating out the second place Revelation by a small margin and being 30% higher than the Radiance. This advantage continues into DPS. It beats out the Radiance by a small margin, but the fact that this support ship beats it out at all is a huge surprise. Typically, support ships would be nowhere near the top of the pile, but in this case, the Progenitor takes the gold medal. The Progenitor keeps its advantage when compared to the other factions as well. It clears out first place by a small amount, about 3%, ahead of the Evacuator and completely eclipses the Akkan, having almost 300 more piercing. When looking at average DPS, the Progenitor wins a clear victory, clearing the Akkan and having almost double the DPS than the Evacuator. Typically, we have seen ships that, if they have high piercing, they will most likely have low DPS or vice versa. But for the Progenitor, as we have seen, is not the case. So why does it perform so well? Well, the Progenitor, unlike other support ships, comes with a large number of weapons. It sports 2-point defense, but more importantly, it has 2 high-damage heavy plasma cannons and 7 heavy lasers. The heavy plasma provides the progenitor high piercing, having 750 each. The 7 lasers provide a high DPS, each having 7.5, meaning a total of 52.5 from the lasers alone. This unique armament allows the progenitor to be deadly against unsuspecting players that may underestimate it as just another support ship. The progenitor couples this offensive armament with the highest max speed of all Advent capital ships, beating out the second place Revelation by a thin margin and sits about 12.5% above the Radiance. This trend continues into Acceleration, with the progenitor beating out the Revelation on a thin margin but trumping the Radiance by about 37%. Comparing cross-faction, the progenitor ties with the Akkan for max speed, both of which sit ahead of the Evacuator. This is also true for Acceleration. The Akkan and the progenitor have the same acceleration, with the Evacuator being slightly behind. Having okay durability, a surprising armament, and being quite agile, the progenitor seems to be, for all intents and purposes, a superb battleship. However, being a support ship, its abilities are what truly should set it apart, and for some, these can be hit or miss. The progenitor's first ability is Colonize. This ability is similar to what the other faction's colonizers' ships get, however, it is not identical and value-wise could be considered inferior. It allows the ship to colonize a planet, providing a free logistics level and a free focus level on the planet. While the free logistics level is on par with the other factions, in the early game the focus level is not very useful. At level 1, this ability will provide 1 free focus and logistics level at a cost of 120 antimatter and with a cooldown of 120 seconds. Leveling this ability increases the amount of focus and logistics levels provided, along with a reduced antimatter cost and cooldown. At ability level 3, it gives 2 free focus and logistics levels for a cost of 60 antimatter with a 60-second cooldown. While this ability is better than what you would get with a missionary vessel, it is still inferior to the Akkan's free logistics and commerce level and the Evacuator's free mining levels. The progenitor's second ability is Shield Regeneration. This ability provides the progenitor with an excellent key to keeping your frigates alive in the early game. When activated, all friendly ships within a radius around the progenitor will have their shields restored for a small duration. At level 1, this ability restores 25 shields per second for 8 seconds to all friendly ships in a 3000 radius around the progenitor. It does this for a cost of 125 antimatter and a cooldown of 20 seconds. As it levels up, the amount of shields restored per second goes up along with the radius. The antimatter cost is reduced as well. At ability level 3, Shield Regeneration restores 50 shields per second for 8 seconds in a 5000 radius around the progenitor, doing so for a cost of 75 antimatter. This ability provides enormous early game benefits as it can keep your precious fleet alive and keep Advent expansion strong in the early game. The progenitor's third ability is a passive one, Unity Meditation. This ability provides unity points and increases your max focus along with increasing the focus restore rate. At levels 1 through 3, it incrementally increases the amount of unity points provided along with the max focus and focus restore rate. Being an ability that does not provide a direct combat or support role, it is usually relegated to the late game and should not be your first ability pick on the progenitor, especially if it is your first capital ship. When you do choose this ability, it is important to remember that the unity points will disappear when the ship becomes crippled or destroyed. Another thing to keep in mind when deciding if this ability is truly worth it. At level 6, the progenitor gets Rebirth. When activated, this ability will resurrect any of your corvettes, frigates, or cruisers that were destroyed within the current gravity well. It revives up to 100 supply worth of ships for a cost of 250 antimatter and a cooldown of 300 seconds. This ability will revive the ships with the highest supply cost first, so in theory it will resurrect cruisers first, followed by frigates, and then corvettes. When these ships are revived, they will receive full hull, armor, shields, and antimatter, and they will appear in the location in which they were originally destroyed, making this a potent ability that can change the course of a battle within a gravity well. Important to note that this ability benefits from psi power. Each psi power increases the max supply limit of this ability by 1, so if you want more ships revived, then increasing psi power is a must. Given its ability profile, the progenitor excels in tightly coordinated Advent fleets. Shield Regeneration pairs exceptionally well with shield-heavy Advent ships, and while this ability works very well with early game disciples and corvettes, it can continue being effective into the late game. It is important to consider that this ability does not have a unit limit. all friendly ships within the radius will have their shield regenerated, making it crucial for the Progenitor to be in the center of your fleet during engagements to maximize its effectiveness. This can be risky, as bunching your ships can make you an easy target for AoE abilities, but the Progenitor's high shields along with this ability should multiply your fleet's effective durability enough to deal with any snags. Which brings this to the Progenitor's greatest asset, the Rebirth ability. This ability allows you to not only be aggressive in pushing your fleet, but also gives you some options to handle certain situations. It can allow you to revive ships that were lost in an ambush or were in bad positions, but it can also allow you to be more aggressive in pushing enemy ships and trading ships when you deem fit. This ability is amplified when used with ships that already have a high durability, so timing can be essential to getting the most benefit. On paper, the Progenitor Mothership has average durability and a surprising amount of raw damage. However, its true strength lies in sustaining your fleets through powerful regeneration and resurrection abilities and providing quick expansion early game. It can accelerate your expansion through its Colonize ability, keep fleets alive through shield regeneration, and reverse battlefield losses with Rebirth, and hold its own when faced with dangerous situations. When compared to the Akkan and the Evacuator, the Progenitor stands out as being able to engage heavy enemies while also being able to sustain and protect its own fleet from being destroyed. If kept alive, it can provide immense long-term value and help turn many battles into your favor. And that's all for the Advent Progenitor Mothership. Let me know what you thought of the video. I try to improve these based on the feedback I get in the comments, so if I missed something or did something you liked, let me know. If you liked the video, please like, and if you liked the analysis and would like more, consider subscribing. Anyway, that's all for now. See you in the next one.